Delighted to welcome everybody to the very first of our, please God, what will be many broadcasts on Twitter and the sharing of Torah through the medium of the internet and social media. It's interesting, at the end of this week's sedra, we have the fascinating story of the Tadaber Miriam. Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moshe Rabbeinu and the fact that he separated from Tzipora. And the pasuk goes on to say that Hashem criticized, especially Miriam, for speaking about Moshe Rabbeinu, because after all, he's Onav Mikol Adam. Moshe Rabbeinu is the most humble of every man, and Kichol Beisi Ne'emonhu, and Moshe Rabbeinu is trustworthy in my entire house. What's the relationship between those two ideas? On the one hand, that Moshe Rabbeinu is Onav Mikol Adam, and the other, that he is B'chol Beisi Ne'emonhu, he's trusted in the entire house of Hashem. What does it mean to be trusted? What does the word Ne'emon mean? That we simply translate trust. The truth is, we use it for another. The word Ne'emon is also associated, is the same root as the word Emunah, which is to have faith. And that's the idea, because Moshe Rabbeinu is faithful into the entire house of Hashem, and we need to understand that further. Similarly, the word Ne'eman is associated with the word Amen, that something is absolutely true. We conclude that when we hear a bracha, we respond Amen, that there is an absolute truth to that. We take it further. The word Amen is Roshei Tevos, Kel Melech Ne'eman, a God, a king, who is faithful, who is trusted, who is true. What's the association with these words? And the answer lies with an understanding of who Moshe Rabbeinu is, and what it means. His prophecy was different from other prophets, and for this reason, any complaints that Miriam may have had against him would not be appropriate. After all, she says, we're all prophets. The answer is yes, but nobody's a prophet like Moshe Rabbeinu. The Gemara tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu sees his prophecy ba'aspaklarya ha'me'ira, with a clear transparency, while every other prophet does not see it ba'aspaklarya ha'me'ira, with a clear mirror, but rather with a ba'aspaklarya kind of mirror sha'ena me'ira, that distorts, that isn't absolutely the same. We can take it a step further to understand this idea, perhaps, in the following way. The Rambam explains, what does it mean that Moshe Rabbeinu saw his prophecy in an espaklarya me'ira? He goes on to explain that every prophet generally sees their prophecy not exactly what will happen, but rather it's communicated by way of a mashal. It's communicated by way of an enigma, a parable, something that the prophet does not see exactly what happens, but sees some kind of allegory. And through that, together with that allegory, he has an immediate understanding of what it means and how we understand that to mean in the future. Moshe Rabbeinu was not like that. There was no separation between what Hashem communicated to him and his understanding of it. It didn't need to be through an allegory, but rather it was direct. That's what it means in Aspaklarya HaMe'ira. There was no distortion whatsoever in Moshe Rabbeinu's prophecy. The truth is that every one of us, whatever we see, whatever we claim to have objectivity about, is always distorted by our own personal bias. Whatever we see is reflective of what we see, not necessarily of what happens. Witnesses can see the exact same thing, and then when you interview them, they saw different things, and they'll tell you different things. Why is that? Because everybody sees from their own perspective, and that personal perspective will always distort your vision. Moshe Rabbeinu was an Anav Mikol Adam. He was the most humble of people. Being that he was the most humble of people, there was no personal perspective to distort his vision. That being the case, he was able to see his prophecy in an aspaklaria ha'me'ira. He was able to see it clearly. And because there was no distortion, there was no sense of self-benefit, no sense of self-interest in anything he did, therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was able to say, Ki b'chol beisi ne'emanu, that he is totally trustworthy in my house, because nothing he is looking at is any other interest other than what HaKadosh Baruch Hu asks of him. Our lesson for ourselves is first of all to appreciate that whatever may happen and wherever we may be, and as much as we may work to try to be objective, we are always distorted by our own views, by our own bias, by our own needs. It's only through working to develop our sense of humility we can mitigate that. The aspiration is indeed to be like Moshe Rabbeinu, that we are ne'eman, that we are faithful, that we are transparent, that we are clear, that there are no distortions in who and what we are. And that is the goal we should struggle with in order to be able to see the world clearly and appreciate our relationship with Hashem. And Hashem should be able to relate with us correctly and fully. Thank you very much.